Oh, hey there, and welcome to this week's episode of Drawing It Out. You know the drill. Grab your favorite drawing utensil and let's make some art. Tonight we'll be talking about Power Rangers. Well, briefly. Why, you ask? Because I want to talk about how bad the stock is on the sketch covers. I don't know what Boom Studios thinking when they picked this particular stock. I don't know if they had an artist test it with all sorts of different medias. My guess is no. I'm guessing they found the cheapest stock to get it done. And I guess I understand they're a small company. But if they're going to go as cheap as possible, they need to stop charging as much as they charge. Now, I'm not the only artist that's had this problem. Although most artists that I've encountered with the problem that I was having, it's been with the IDW stock, and that's just not right. It's hard to get quality work into a customer's hands, someone who's commissioned me to draw them a piece of art with this type of quality stock. I hope this improves. I really do. This is better than some of the other stocks that I found, but this was not good either. I found that even with the crossovers with DC, with IDW, the IDW TMNT stock is terrible. Like, I completely ruined a Batman TMNT cover just by coloring the picture with marker. So I'm probably going to, if we do any subjects on this show about TMNT, anything involving IDW, Image, Boom Studio properties, I'll probably just draw them by hand, or not draw them by hand, but draw them digitally on the tablet, just to avoid the problems I was having with this. But that's not what you guys are here for. You're here to hear me talk about the Power Rangers. So, to talk about the Power Rangers is once again to touch upon the Fox Kids morning programming. I don't remember as a kid being a huge Power Rangers fan at first. My dad was. And it was the only thing I had to watch while, waiting for the Ninja Turtles to come on CBS. But like most kids my age, I became embroiled in the love for this all things Power Rangers. And Super Sentai, which, I didn't know that phrase until later in life. But pretty much anything Saban stole from Japan and brought over here and recast with an American crew. I loved it, whether it was Big Bad Beetleborgs, Common the Masked Rider, or I wonder if it was Black Masked Rider back then. It's been a while. It was one of those shows that, I couldn't get enough Power Rangers, so I watched it. I had a friend who had a Masked Rider toy. And most recently I bought, it was a Kamen Rider Meteor toy. I called him my pimp. He was the Pimp Daddy Kamen Rider because he had an ice cream cone and a pip stick. Kind of sad I got rid of him. But that's life. You see better things and you trade them. One of the cool facts about Kamen Rider was that the original Red Ranger, or at least one of the Red Rangers from Zai Rangers, was, I think it was Kamen Rider Black. And I found that out through watching all the Red Ranger YouTube appearances, which I highly recommend. Any chance you can get to watch videos of Austin St. John or any of the original Mighty Morphin Power Rangers cast talk, do it. You're doing yourself a service, especially if you're a fan of the show. Yeah, I watched all of these terrible Saban shows. Like, I watched Power Rangers, Beetleborgs, Masked Rider. I even watched the really, really bad Oh, I wish I could remember the name of it, and I'm pretty sure if I would have done research before doing the show, I could have told you, but it was like, they were Irish knights fighting in, like, color-coded armor, and they transformed just like the Power Rangers. I think they even had, like, a Zordon-like character. It didn't last very long, which, thank God, as it was the first time I was embarrassed to be an Irish person. And they didn't even do characters with accents. They all had American accents, and it was very much like, I think their big villain was pretty much like Goldar. He was like a Knights of the Round Table Goldar. But, you know, today's show isn't about that. It's about Power Rangers. So like I said, I started watching it as a way to bond with my dad and kill time before Ninja Turtles. And I watched Power Rangers way, way longer than I should have. I started with Mighty Morphin, and I went way past, oh, I wish I could remember the name. I think it was either after Turbo or it was after Space Rangers. I think it was like Time Rangers or something like that. But I remember it had a silver Power Ranger who had a V on his helmet, and I think he was a robot. But I dropped off. That had a villain that was just like that one from where they were knights in Ireland, where it was just like a skeleton death-like baddie. But I loved it. You know, it was my jam. I had all of the different morphers. I had the wristbands. I think my favorite that wasn't regular Power Rangers was the in space, and that was because the costumes went back to being simple, and they they brought on the Ninja Turtles, which was really cool because it was mixing my two favorite things, which at that time, you know, it was Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles. You'll see here there's a quick cut where I'm doing this coffee can to make my circle. My stencil wasn't big enough for what I wanted to, you know, encapsulate both girls. Like, the circle would have just sat behind them. Which didn't really matter because when I ended up coloring the circle later, you'll notice that the background's a bit, well, when you see at the very end, the background is so scratchy and the ink pooled. I might keep the sketch cover for me personally. Like, I like how the Kimberly and Trini turned out, but I don't know if I can, you know, good conscious sell this to anybody. If you are interested, go ahead and hit me up through the normal channels. I'm not very expensive for the price of my sketch covers. Like, I'm more about getting my art into your guys' hands, into your homes, than I am about turning a profit. Which, you know, most artists are like, oh, profit, profit, profit. No, man, the more you guys know who I am, the better. Now, that's being said, I'm not going to do anything free or for exposure. But, you know, I'm also not going to try and rob you to get rich. That's not who I am. Where was I? I just wanted to stop and address that thing with the coffee can. Which I might start introducing this coffee can more often for these backgrounds. I don't know why I didn't think of this. Like, I spent probably like $10 on that stencil. And just, it's nice for doing quick sketches. And if I need a circular stencil somewhere. But it's definitely not big enough to fill up a space. And if anybody's wondering why I do that, it's just to pay homage to the old World War II fighter planes in the nose art. But back to Power Rangers. Like most kids my age, the Red Ranger and the Green White Ranger were big favorites of mine. The Green Ranger mostly because he was the Dragon Zord, but I always liked the character of Jason Scott. I love the Red Ranger because he was the leader. He had the coolest of all of the Ranger suits. And I think it was just like those teeth on that helmet. And I think that's why the Green Ranger is really cool too. For a little while, I resented the White Ranger, or Tommy Oliver, because he just came in and he stole basically the leadership position from Jason. And finding out now as an adult that that was planned, because Jason, or not Jason, although Austin St. John's real first name is Jason, Austin St. John was having some issues with the pay, which, to find out that Haim Saban was shorting everybody pay, not paying them what they were worth, is ridiculous. Like, those guys were making... They made that franchise. There's a story about them shutting down the freeway. Like, for those actors to not get paid their due is just appalling. I know they're probably making up for a lot of it now with the con circuit. And if you guys have any chance to meet any of those actors, make sure you get a selfie with them. Make sure you buy their t-shirts. Make sure you check out their websites. I made sure to buy an Austin St. John t-shirt when he had his on sale, because I'm an artist, so I don't make a whole lot of money. I made sure to do that. I felt kind of like a turd. I met Karen Ashley at the last Tucson Comic Con, and I gifted her my Yellow Power Ranger sketch cover, which was the first time I had an interaction with these sketch covers, which was good. The Mighty Morphin Power Ranger sketch cover didn't fight me on the markers, although I think I experienced a little bit of pooling, but it wasn't anything like these. But I gifted her that cover, and she was so nice that she gifted me an autographed picture. I was totally set to walk away. I had told her, she was one of my favorites, that Walter was one of my favorites. I'm kind of sad I didn't go meet Walter at Tucson Comic Con. I remember when he left the show, it was heartbreaking, because he was his character is fun. The thought of him mixing hip hop and Aikido, the hip hop Kido, was great. I never got the nuances of that until this last rewatch, right before the movie came out. And it's so funny. I went to the movie because of two factors. The Andre from Black Nerd Comedy here on YouTube, and rewatching those originals was I really like this show. I don't know why I had shunned it for so long. I mean, it's not really shunning it when you grow out of it, when you become a teenager, oh, this is the thing that makes vaginas dry up, so I should probably not wear this on my sleeve, although I unabashedly wore comic books on my sleeve, so there's a little bit of disconnect there. But that got me hyped to go see the movie, which was not a letdown by any stretch of the imagination. Except for when it came to Goldar and the Megazord. Someone needed to give both of those creatures a sandwich, and I'm sad they're not going to do a second one. But if you liked that movie, or even if you didn't like that movie, go find Max Landis' script for his Power Ranger movie. It is probably the most grown-up, next to that Power / Rangers movie on YouTube. and it's probably more like the MTV television show version of Power Rangers that we probably should have gotten instead of the movie. Jason David Frank, I guess, wasn't going to let it die, and I think he's trying to figure out what's going on with that. I haven't checked in a while. I'm just now catching up with the comics. You may have seen in this, at the beginning of this video, I pull out the Pink Ranger graphic novel, which that's really cool. They've got a female Red Ranger in there. They've got like this stealth suit Pink Ranger outfit. I read this Go-Go Power Rangers issue before doing the sketch cover, and I am very disappointed I slept on this. Like, I should have read this instead of the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers comics, which those are cool. They're just too much about Tommy, and I like the idea of this Go-Go Power Rangers because that is about the rest of the Rangers that we care about. I mean, that is unless you are a Tommy Oliver fanboy, fangirl. I recommend them. They're kind of on par with the IDW Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle books. Like, they kind of do a lot of the same things, where they take the stuff you know about the show and the stuff you know about other parts of the property, and they put it in a blender, and then they serve you this nice smoothie of Power Rangers, which is pretty sweet. Well, that's it for tonight. I'll probably talk about the comic books a little more when we do a part 2. If you didn't get enough Power Rangers from tonight's episode, I highly recommend the Wizard and the Bruiser podcast. They have a whole episode about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. If you want to get any bit deeper than that, check out Karen Ashley's Uncensored Talk. I recommend watching any of the YouTube panels with the Rangers, especially ones that feature Karen Ashley, Austin St. John, Walter Emmanuel Jones, and why can't I think of his name? David Yost. I think Amy Jo Johnson's very quiet. I haven't seen her on any of the panels. Also check out Andre and the Black Nerd Comedy channel. He's got tons of great interviews with past and I think even present Rangers. And just sit down and rewatch the show. You're never too old to rewatch the things you loved as a kid. Never be too proud. Till next time, have a good night, and I will talk to you next week.